I want to get to Trill in a second, but I want you to stay there. You are a matchmaker for traditional high value men. How do you define high value?
Oh gosh, you really should. Okay, so high value, according to what I consider to be high value, and what I consider to be high value is a man who is making significant means. And I put that at 100K because 100K, you can live anywhere in the United States and not really have too much to worry. Okay, you may be, your budget may be tight in New York. Your budget may be tight in California. Okay, it's going to be tight in California. It's going to be tight in New York. Yeah. But that's about it. Anywhere else, majority of the country, it's not going to be tight. You can live anywhere and raise a family.
So that's the big part of what makes a high value man.
That's the big part. But then a high value man also has a network of other high value men. He has social status and standing within his community. He is respected by his peers. He is considered a leader of men, and a leader in his community.
Okay, so stop right there. So why do you choose to work with specifically high value men to match with other women for traditional relationships?
For one, because what it costs to hire a matchmaker, I mean, it's expensive. It's very expensive. So I want to make sure that people understand, and I want women to understand the type of men that I'm dealing with, and I want men to understand what type of clientele that I'm accepting because of the prices that I charge, the amount that I charge. Matchmaking is not cheap. You put in a lot of work and a lot of effort.
I get it. I agree with you.
But high value men, it's not really the high value part. I just think that I've always used that word before everyone else got a hold of it to let women know that I have elite clients, elite caliber men as clients. And then I work with traditional men because they're just easier to work with. They're easier to match. I've tried matching modern men. They tend to get a little bit more too picky. The process just takes too long. So I like working with traditional men and women.
Okay. So I'm going to ask Trill first, do you have a definition for what a high value man is?
Yeah, but I mean, it's not necessarily tied around money too much. I think, again, depending on where you live, just like she said, Ohio, you can get a crib for $80,000. You may not need to make $100,000 there. So I think it's more tied to intangibles. It's like integrity, just like she said, leader of men, man that's able to, go his own way. He's respected. He's admired. He has his choice of women. He has charisma, great conversation, different things like that. Calm demeanor. Level-headed, able to steer the ship, not get too high, not get too low. And then, man is making, I don't know, I guess if the average, like double whatever the average is where your neighborhood is, I think would suffice in terms of money. So if the national average is, I can't remember what it is in Texas, it's like 40 something. So you could be making like 80 to, 80 and up or whatever in that way. But I think it's more tied to intangibles than money.
Okay. So you're matching these high value men with these women that want to be matched because I think the average woman wants a high value. I hate the term, just so you know, I despise the term.
Why does everyone hate terms? Because everybody says, I don't like using that word, or,
I don't like it.
Like nobody likes it. Everybody used that word last year. Now no one likes to use it.
I didn't use it. I referred to it because other people said it. I hate that word. Here's why I hate the word, right? Because everyone likes to place their value on dollars. That's the only way you can really put a tangible, quantifiable thing on your value is dollars. And to Trill's point, there's other intangibles that give you value. So when we talk about high value, people think of high dollar. So there's a lot of women right now that's chasing high dollar, right? Especially since they want to maintain their lifestyle. There's not a lot of women that I've come across or that I've ever heard of that says they're going to give up their business and their livelihood for a man that makes less. I commend you for sticking to that if that's important to you. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying in today's environment, when people hear high value, they're chasing high dollar men who are getting a lot of offers from these women that are looking for this high, so on and so forth. Because these women are also saying the cost of living is high. I want to maintain my lifestyle. I want to so on and so forth, right? You've heard this multiple times. I'm not saying this for the first time. Right. So when I hear you say high value, or when I hear people say high value, I grasp that it's based on those dollar figures. So now they're thinking about, okay, when they want to get married and when they want to have children and when they want to settle down and being able to afford whatever lifestyle for themselves and for their family. That's completely understandable, but it kind of skews the idea that we can expect a large population of people to subscribe to this when we've already established that 90% of people aren't in that category that people are chasing, right? So that leaves a lot of people in the dust. So now if we're talking about marriage, given that now there's 2 income, people are going to school, people are getting education, starting businesses independently, men and women, do you feel like the value that people had in getting married back then is the same that you get today?
No, because back then people married for duty. Okay. Now people marry for love. Like, I gotta love you, I gotta like you. Back then it was duty. Like, the guy would get a woman who is going to clean his house, cook his meals, and take care of his kids. He got the best option in his neighborhood, in his community, in proximity to him. And the woman looked at the man and said, okay, this is going to be a man who's going to, work and take care of he's going to contribute to the household financially. He's going to protect the family. And she got the best option that was in proximity to her. So it was basically about trade-offs. Now it's more of, I kind of feel like it's sort of transactional. What can you do for me? And I'm not necessarily focused on what you're going to get from me. I just want to focus on what I can get from you. And then most people are looking for that ideal person to fall in love with. But I also want to say that most people are modern. Most people have marriages like trills, and they're fine with that and they're happy with that. And I think that's wonderful. I think I'm not an advocate for people choosing traditionalism. I'm an advocate for those who choose traditionalism. There's a huge difference. So I'm an advocate for marriage in general. And whichever dynamic you decide to fall under is I'm going to support that. So, but most people are modern. Most marriages are modern. It is a very, very, very small population of people who are truly, truly traditional. That's why you guys are shocked by my mindset and my values, because it's not every day that you would hear a woman say, yeah, I would give this all up and just live under my husband's income, because that's very difficult for a lot of women to do, since we've been conditioned from little girls to, you got to have your own, you got to maintain your independence. Don't depend on the man. He can leave you. And then what are you going to have? And what are you going to do? And, you get with this man, he cheats on you and all this other stuff. I just look at it. Yes, those things are possible. It could happen. I just don't focus on them, because my focus is I want to serve my husband. And as Trill pointed out, I can't do both. I already know I cannot work and have a marriage. I can't.
So, Trill, what about you? Do you feel like marriage has the same value that it had before?
No. And it goes back to what I said earlier about livelihood being tied to somebody. I feel like when your livelihood is tied to somebody, then now we have, like, I'm trying to figure out what the word is for, but we have circumstances other than true compatibility, love, different things like that are keeping y'all together, so it's just like having kids with somebody. You're going to stay through a lot of nonsense just to make it work for the kids, but livelihood the same way. I'm going to stay through a lot of nonsense just so, because if I leave here, I don't have any credentials, any way to pay my bills. So now I'm going to have to jump to the next guy, and that's why I don't necessarily advise tradition for that very reason, unless you went the path that LeTisha did, See, I advise the option to be traditional, not for me to like raise my daughter to be traditional, because I have a daughter, and I'm gonna raise her to secure your own comfortable self-sufficiency first. And then if you meet a guy and he's a traditional guy, whatever the case may be, he's doing well for himself, and you feel the need to subscribe to his program or get in line with his structure, he has a legitimate infrastructure set up, then you can tuck your credentials and you can fall into that makes more sense to me, instead of raising my daughter up to say, nah, you're not going to college, I'm gonna teach you how to be a wife, and your goal is to find a man. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like, again, relationships end at way too high of a clip. And even though we don't want to necessarily think about those things, you kind of really don't have a choice. Relationships end at too high of a clip to roll the dice on your livelihood on a man, especially because it's easy to find men that have money, but it's not easy to find men that have money and great leadership and solid structure. And
yeah.
Really, because I know like a lot of dudes that have money and they in the club every week, spending it on sections and different things like that. Don't necessarily have too many investments, not necessarily concerned with setting up an infrastructure for a woman. I'm worried about, okay, all these women want me for my money, I'm about to run through all of them. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's more so the mindset than like, if a man has a solid structure, I intend to be married, let me set this up for my wife, set this up for my family, so that way when I run into that woman, she can come into my program. So again, going back to what I said, I'm not going to teach my daughter to be dependent on a man when most of those men are like the dudes at the club that I described in this era.